Did Namibia just make one of the boldest moves in African travel policy? Imagine being able to stroll into one of Africa's most scenic nations without a visa. Well, not anymore.
And staying in the region for years, American and Western travelers have enjoyed easy, visa-free access to many African nations. But now, Namibia is flipping the script. In a move that signals growing frustration over unequal travel policies, the country is introducing new visa requirements for US and other Western allies.
For years, US citizens, along with nationals from over 30 other countries, have been able to pack their bags and step onto Namibian soil without much thought. No paperwork, no waiting. Just a simple flight to one of Africa's most picturesque destinations. But this easy access is about to change. Starting from April 1st, 2025, Namibia will no longer offer visa-free entry to US citizens and nationals from a long list of other countries. Countries like the US, UK, Canada, and most of Europe. The announcement marks a pivotal shift, both in Namibia's international relations and its stance on global travel. But why is Namibia, known for its liberal visa policies, making this drastic move now? And what does it mean for travelers and global relations? Let's find out. As Namibia takes a bold step toward redefining its approach to international relations, travelers from 33 nations, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and most European countries, are now facing a shift in their travel plans. For those accustomed to enjoying seamless entry into Namibia, the change to the visa policy could come as a shock. What was once a smooth and straightforward process is now a game of paperwork and planning. The new visa requirement, effective from April 1st, 2025, introduces a system where US citizens and nationals from the affected countries must apply for a visa before visiting Namibia. This is a shift away from the country's previous liberal visa policies, where visitors could simply arrive without a visa and immerse themselves in Namibia's vast, natural beauty. But what does this mean for travelers? How should they prepare for a trip to one of Africa's most stunning countries? First, it's crucial to understand the new visa on arrival and e-visa process. Travelers no longer have the luxury of simply hopping on a plane and showing up at their destination. Instead, they will need to apply for a visa either before departure or upon arrival, depending on their preference. The visa on arrival option allows travelers to get their tourist visa once they land in Namibia. This process requires travelers to fill out an application and pay the required fees at the airport. While this offers some convenience, it's important to note that there could be long wait times and paperwork to complete once on the ground. For travelers who prefer to avoid potential delays or complications at the airport, the e-visa portal provides an alternative. The e-visa system allows applicants to submit their visa applications online. Travelers can access the portal, fill out the necessary details, and pay the fees digitally. Once approved, they can carry a printed version of their e-visa approval and head directly to Namibia without the need for further processing at the airport. It's a streamlined option for those who want to avoid the uncertainties of visa on arrival processing, but travelers are still encouraged to apply well in advance, as approval may take several days, and missing this window could lead to unnecessary delays. While this is a significant adjustment for travelers, it's important to be aware of the specific requirements for each nationality. The change impacts citizens from 33 countries, with US nationals among the largest group affected. For American travelers, the new visa system means a departure from the seamless entry they have enjoyed for years. European nationals enjoyed the privilege of traveling freely across borders with minimal hassle. Their passports, often stamped with ease, allowed them to enter countries without the need for complicated visa applications or pre-departure paperwork. But this privilege, long taken for granted, is now becoming a distant memory as Namibia implements stricter border control measures. Today, many European travelers find themselves caught in a system where the visa process has become a mandatory pre-departure step, something Africans have known all too well for decades. The imbalance in travel privileges has long been glaring, with African citizens facing lengthy visa applications, multiple requirements, and constant scrutiny when trying to enter European countries. For Africans, the visa process isn't just a formality, it's often a financial and bureaucratic barrier that discourages travel and reinforces historical power dynamics. But if Europeans are now forced to deal with the same visa systems and barriers that Africans have had to navigate for years, perhaps it's a step toward greater equality. It's time for European nationals to experience firsthand the challenges that many African travelers face every day. After all, fairness demands reciprocity. But the West didn't take it lightly. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Western governments, and the tourism sector in particular, argue that these new visa policies are not only inconvenient for travelers, but also threaten the livelihood of entire economies that depend on tourism. Namibia, with its spectacular landscapes, wildlife, and cultural richness, stands as a prime example. Namibia's tourism sector has long been an essential driver of its economic growth. For years, tourists from the US, Europe, and other Western regions have made a long journey to see the nation's natural wonders. From the iconic dunes of Sossusvlei to the sprawling wildlife-rich Etosha National Park, Namibia has been a favorite destination for adventure and ecotourism. The pristine coastal town of Swakopmund, offering a blend of German colonial architecture and vibrant desert scenery, has also attracted countless visitors. These travelers are crucial to Namibia's tourism economy, contributing millions in foreign currency and supporting jobs across various industries, from hospitality to transportation and retail. Namibia's GDP is heavily reliant on tourism, with the sector accounting for a significant portion of the country's income. According to Namibia's tourism ministry, the industry directly contributes around 15 to 20% of the GDP, with thousands of jobs dependent on the steady influx of international tourists. Moreover, these visitors often come for extended stays, spending money on accommodations, guided tours, local goods, and services, all of which help boost the national economy. The idea that Western travelers, who once enjoyed relatively easy access to Namibia, might now face more hurdles to visit has raised alarm in both the government and business sectors. The West, particularly the US and European countries, has long dominated global tourism patterns. For many years, people from these regions had the luxury of traveling across borders with minimal bureaucratic hurdles. A passport from a Western nation typically guarantees easy entry into most countries, including many African nations. But as African countries, including Namibia, respond to the growing number of stringent visa policies imposed on their citizens by Western countries, the tables have started to turn. Countries like Namibia have begun implementing their visa systems for Western nationals, forcing them to adhere to the same regulations that African travelers have been subjected to for decades. While this move may seem like a natural response to the inequality in travel access, the reaction from the West has been swift and loud. Tourism organizations, airlines, and travel agencies have raised concerns about the potential damage to the Namibian tourism sector. They argue that the imposition of these visa policies will discourage travelers from visiting, especially from long-haul markets such as the US and Europe, where Namibia's main tourist markets lie. Western tourists, used to the ease of travel, may be put off by the added complication of obtaining a visa, even if it is a small inconvenience in the grand scheme of international travel. The tourism industry's concerns are valid, as international travel and tourism have always been integral to the global economy. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council (WTTC), the global tourism industry contributes 10.4% of global GDP and creates millions of jobs worldwide. In Namibia, this industry has been a major player in generating employment, supporting small businesses, and encouraging infrastructure development in rural areas. In addition, long-haul travelers from Western countries tend to stay longer and spend more money compared to those from neighboring regions, making them highly sought after by the tourism sector. However, the question arises, should Namibia and other African countries continue to bend to the demands of Western tourists, or is it time to level the playing field? After all, if tourists want to visit African countries, they should do so with fairness in mind. The same visa processes that many African travelers endure when attempting to visit Western countries should now be applied to those from Europe and the US. For decades, African nations have had to contend with the inequity of travel restrictions, which have often hindered the movement of their citizens across the globe. Whether it's the bureaucratic hurdles or the long waits for visa approvals, African travelers have had to navigate a system that is often biased and difficult to navigate. Western tourists, on the other hand, have enjoyed the luxury of relatively easy travel, with many countries offering visa on arrival or visa-free access to Western passport holders. For Africans, this disparity has been a painful reality, especially for those who wish to experience the cultural and economic opportunities that the West has to offer. Now that the tides are beginning to shift, with African countries like Namibia instituting their visa requirements for Western nationals, the balance is starting to be addressed. It's not about making life difficult for travelers, but rather ensuring that fairness and reciprocity are the guiding principles in global travel. What Namibia's government and other African nations are signaling is a simple yet powerful message. If Western travelers expect to visit African countries freely, they must also experience the same challenges and restrictions that African travelers face when attempting to visit the West. This is about creating an equal playing field, where visa policies are not one-sided and are based on the principle of fairness. After all, Africa is not a playground for tourists. It is a continent of diverse nations, cultures, and people who deserve to be treated with the same respect and fairness as those from the West. But what does this mean for the economic stability of Namibia's tourism sector? Will this policy change lead to a sharp decline in the number of international visitors? The answer is not straightforward. For many long-haul travelers, the addition of a visa requirement could be seen as an inconvenience or an extra hurdle. For others, it might even be a deterrent, especially for those used to the ease of visa-free entry. As a result, the Namibian government could see a drop in visitor numbers from certain regions, especially if the hassle of obtaining a visa becomes a barrier to entry. On the other hand, there is potential for this policy shift to be part of a larger strategy to reshape the tourist market and attract different kinds of visitors. Namibia is known for its vast wilderness, breathtaking landscapes, and incredible wildlife, and the country can refocus its tourism efforts to target regions less impacted by these visa changes. Additionally, Namibia may look to promote its tourism through other avenues: more aggressive marketing campaigns, new attractions, and stronger regional partnerships with countries that are not affected by the new visa rules. By diversifying its tourism offerings and catering to more easily accessible markets, Namibia might be able to offset any downturn in arrivals from traditional source countries. Despite these challenges, the broader implication of this policy change goes beyond just numbers and revenue. It signals a shift toward greater control over who enters Namibia and under what circumstances. While the country's government has expressed a desire to safeguard national security and maintain strict control over migration, the policy change also mirrors a growing trend among African nations to assert sovereignty over their immigration systems. Just as other African countries are re-evaluating their relationships with former colonial powers and Western nations, Namibia is making a clear statement about self-determination in the face of unequal global mobility policies. Moreover, it's worth considering how this move could affect travelers' perceptions of Namibia. Tourists who once viewed the country as an easy destination for a getaway might now rethink their plans. The hassle of obtaining a visa could be seen as a minor inconvenience, or it could serve as a significant deterrent. For those who already had trips booked or in the works, the change may feel frustrating, even alienating. As a result, Namibia must be proactive in managing its image and ensuring that potential visitors are fully informed about the new requirements well in advance of their trips. For the tourism sector in Namibia, this change also presents an opportunity to modernize its infrastructure and service offerings. As the country adapts to the new visa requirements, it will need to invest in systems that can process applications quickly and efficiently, ensuring a smooth experience for all travelers. If Namibia can manage the logistical challenges of this new system while maintaining its status as a must-visit destination, it could very well emerge from this shift with a more sustainable, controlled tourism industry, one that thrives on balance, rather than the influx of unchecked international travelers. As travelers brace for these changes, it's clear that Namibia is not just changing how it handles visas. It's rethinking the role that international visitors play in the country's future. Whether this move leads to a period of hardship or a period of revitalization will depend on how well Namibia can adapt to the new landscape and whether it can maintain its allure as one of Africa's top destinations despite the added bureaucracy. Now the question is, why did Namibia take this bold step? This move from a liberal visa policy to a more restrictive one is not just about creating additional paperwork for travelers. It's a calculated shift that touches on issues of reciprocity, sovereignty, and global relations. This is a pivotal moment in the country's international dealings, one that sets a new tone for its relationship with global powers, particularly Western nations. Historically, Namibia has been known for its liberal visa policies. For years, US and European citizens, along with nationals from several other countries, could enter Namibia without the need for a visa. This policy reflected Namibia's desire to foster strong international ties and boost its tourism industry. But while Namibia opened its doors freely, the situation for Namibian citizens abroad has not been so easy. Many Namibians have faced strict visa requirements when attempting to travel to the US and various European countries. The imbalance in visa arrangements has sparked frustration, and over time, Namibia's government has come to view this as an unfair disparity. The shift in visa policy is, in part, a response to this imbalance. The government of Namibia has stated that this move is rooted in the principle of reciprocity, the idea that if other nations impose strict visa requirements on Namibian nationals, then it only makes sense for Namibia to do the same in return. While many travelers from the US, UK, and Europe enjoyed seamless access to Namibia, Namibian citizens faced hurdles in obtaining visas to visit many of these same countries. By revoking the visa-free access granted to nationals from 33 countries, Namibia is calling attention to this asymmetry and demanding fairness in global mobility practices. This decision is not an isolated one. Namibia's move is reflective of broader geopolitical trends across the African continent, where many countries are seeking to reduce their dependence on Western powers and assert greater control over their own borders and immigration systems. This is not just about visa policies. It's about redefining the relationship between Africa and the Western world and moving toward a more equitable framework for international cooperation. Namibia, through this policy shift, is challenging the status quo and asserting its right to make decisions that align with its national interests, rather than continuing to accept a system that it believes is inherently flawed. Moreover, this policy change aligns with a broader pattern of African nations revisiting long-standing agreements with the West, especially in the realms of immigration, trade, and diplomacy. The visa issue is just one example of how African countries are becoming more assertive in their international dealings. The continent is seeing a shift in its diplomatic orientation, with African leaders increasingly seeking to diversify their relationships beyond the historical ties with former colonial powers. Namibia's decision reflects this broader shift, positioning the country as a more self-sufficient, autonomous player on the world stage. For Namibia, the move also reflects the importance of aligning with the global trend of prioritizing national security and sovereignty. By reasserting control over who enters the country, Namibia is not only responding to external pressure but also safeguarding its internal interests. This new policy allows Namibia to monitor and regulate the flow of travelers in a way that better reflects the country's priorities, be it in terms of protecting the local economy, ensuring national security, or fostering diplomatic relations based on mutual respect and fairness. The political and diplomatic implications of Namibia's visa decision cannot be overstated. This policy change has the potential to impact Namibia's relationship with key global partners, particularly the US and the European Union. For decades, these countries have enjoyed a status of privilege, with minimal barriers to entry into Namibia. Now Namibia is signaling that it is no longer willing to play by these old rules. The shift could be seen as a form of protest against the inequitable treatment that Namibian citizens have received when trying to travel to Western countries. It is also a move to balance the scales and level the playing field in terms of visa regulations. In the short term, the change might strain Namibia's relationships with some of its most prominent trading partners, but in the long term, it could be a step toward forging a more balanced global diplomacy. Countries like the US and those in the European Union may view Namibia's move as a sign of resistance, especially if they interpret it as a reaction to their visa policies. This could lead to tense discussions in the diplomatic corridors, but Namibia's government has made it clear that it is ready to defend its position as part of a larger strategy to regain control over its sovereignty. Namibia's decision also comes at a time when the global debate around visa policies and immigration is becoming increasingly polarized. Countries in the West, particularly the US and parts of Europe, are grappling with growing concerns over immigration and border security. Meanwhile, many African nations are striving to manage their internal security concerns, while simultaneously seeking to open up opportunities for economic growth and tourism. By tightening its visa requirements, Namibia is signaling that it's time for a change in the global order, a shift toward greater fairness in the way countries handle migration and diplomatic relations. But Namibia's move could also have ripple effects beyond the borders of Africa. It sets a precedent for other African countries to reconsider their visa policies, particularly with Western nations. If Namibia's decision proves successful, other nations may follow suit, further eroding the long-standing visa-free access that US and European nationals have enjoyed across the African continent. The result could be a more complex and less predictable global travel landscape, one in which reciprocity and fairness play a larger role in shaping international policies. Do you think this decision will impact Africa's economy? Even if it does, is it the right step? Let us know in the comment section. Should more nations do the same? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.